sellers have conspired, and this is the petition that has been filed in the top court over short sellers. This, as we understand, that Hindenburg, that is headed by Nate Anderson, have admitted to short selling, but this is the petition that has been filed in the top court saying that short sellers have conspired. Shravan, where do you see this going? And as I try and get details from you, I believe Rhythm is also with us on the phone line to reflect on what is happening in the top court on this matter. Over to you, Rhythm.
So a petition is filed by a lawyer in the Supreme Court. They are praying that Nate Anderson, founder of Hindenburg Research, and his Indian entities hatched a criminal conspiracy, and this needs to be probed. He's saying, in fact, that short sellers, that is Anderson, resident of the United States of America, his Indian entities, hatched a criminal conspiracy, did short sale in hundreds of billions of dollars prior to and thereafter on Jan 25th, 2023. They released a concocted news as research report. The Adani group of companies got crash share market and squared up their short sell position at the lowest rate. The plea is therefore saying that an inquiry needs to be done on Hindenburg founder Nate Anderson for allegedly exploiting innocent investors. This plea was mentioned. It's not been mentioned yet. It's just a petition that he's written out as of now. So we really have to see whether the court is going to take cognizance. The prayers are very clear. They want an inquiry to be there, an FIR to be there against Anderson and his associates in India for exploiting innocent investors via short selling under the garb of artificial crashing via short selling coupled with further discussions. After this, he's basically saying that there needs to be a probe, and therefore this petition that is just being filed in the top court, we have to see whether this will be heard in the top court.
Well, Rhythm, I'll just request you to stay on with us. Swapnil Kothari is also joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Kothari, as far as the role of Hindenburg Research is concerned, this is not the first time when such papers or what they call investigative reports have been published by them. If you look at their history, you would look at certain bigger companies in the United States that have also come under the scan of the Hindenburg Research. But at the end of the day, the short seller here makes a massive amount of money by making these reports, which once again, if you really take a closer look, looking at the finer print of that report, you would still not be able to identify how exactly are they coming to that kind of a conclusion. They say it's a product of a 2-year investigation, but they do not make any specific mention with regards to the tax havens that they are referring to, or for that matter, the companies that they are alleging have a direct link with the Adani group, which they call have a criminal track record.
Shravan, this petition, when I read it, your guest team is kind enough to send it to me. It's a very sketchy petition. It's a very sketchy PIL. Writs of mandamuses are not issued just like that on the basis of these sketchy facts. The report may have some validity. There must be a certain amount of truth to short-selling ideas. Now, obviously, SEBI as an institutional body needs to take care of that, because that supersedes, or rather oversees, all of these things that are going on in the corporate world. I'm not going to go into the details of the corporate stuff, because that may confuse your audience and the people who are listening. But the short point is that any financial irregularity, anything which is out of the book, anything which does not meet the SEBI disclosure requirements, listing requirements, the SEBI Act, the provisions of the SEBI Act, that is something which the SEBI, as the SEC in the United States, which is the Securities Exchange Commission, the same way the Securities and Exchange Board of India is supposed to look out for here. Given the position of the petition and given the way the facts are presented, I am very almost certain that the Supreme Court will dismiss this PIL and say that these do not warrant any action on our part unless you come out with more specifics. Why did Adani withdraw his FPO? Was it pursuant to all of these allegations which you think that you're making in this petition? Please draw a comparison. Please come out with detailed facts. If there is some sort of a public interest litigation, first of all, you need to have some locus standi. If you do not have a locus standi, that means you personally have not been impoverished or cheated on. Then in a PIL, you need to have at least some measure of public importance, which you point out to the Supreme Court, so that the Supreme Court will then involve its judicial time into looking into these things. Given the way the petition is drafted, given the way the facts are there, you need to come out with more, aligning the report, aligning and showing a proper conspiracy, because if you are saying 420, section 420 IPC, that is cheating, 120B criminal conspiracy, because that's meeting of more than one mind, then you have to exactly show as to how all of these things have taken place, and whether or not, even why only SEBI, whether or not NIA needs to get involved, whether there is a bigger conspiracy, whether there is an international ramification behind it, anything of that sort. So unless and until you come out with something very focused and very laser guided and very factual in details, only then I will be able to, we as the Supreme Court will be able to come out with, a decision or some sort of an investigation that we can launch or put up an SIT. Otherwise, Shravan, this does not meet, to me, the requirements or material facts are not there for us, or that means for the Supreme Court to get into it or to step into it. It sounds very sketchy to me and very skeletal. Let's put it that way.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kothari, for putting this into perspective. But just before I let you go, just a quick query that I want to take from you. That is, would you then say that it is for the SEBI to act? It isn't really appropriate at this point in time for the Apex Court to really step in. If you really look at the procedures in place, then it is for the SEBI to step in and not for any other institution to come in at this point in time.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. The SEBI needs to come in first before even the Supreme Court comes in. But it seems to me that the petitioner seems to be aggrieved by the stance of SEBI, which seems to be very somnolent and very comatose at this point in time. And that's the reason why this gentleman has approached the judiciary. But it's not going to cut ice with the judiciary, because before the judiciary, you need to put out more facts. You need to say that this was ignored by SEBI, and that is the reason why I've come out with a writ of mandamus. And writ of mandamus is generally issued when and only when there is a duty that was supposed to be performed and which is not performed. That is the time that you issue a writ of mandamus. So you have to show that it was a duty of SEBI. You establish those facts. You say that this is what falls within the parameters of the SEBI Act. This is what falls within the parameters of the SEBI jurisdiction or the umbra of SEBI, and which SEBI was supposed to act and has not acted, and that is why it has to come from the Apex Court. Otherwise, it's a waste of judicial time, in my opinion. The Supreme Court will not step in.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kothari, for putting this into perspective. Remains to be seen how exactly this also pans out in the Parliament, as the budget session is also underway. We've already seen the opposition parties training their guns at the centre. In fact, when the Power Minister spoke to Republic TV yesterday, he made it abundantly clear that the government has nothing to do on this entire matter. It is for other institutions to look into it, and it is with the dealings of a private company which has no links with the government. That's what the centre has to say at this point in time. But will that really satisfy the opposition parties, because they say it is time for a joint parliamentary committee to look into the allegations that have been levelled by the Hindenburg research?
Absolutely, Shravan. And like you said, that taking the legal